Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Paul Kepper is here today, and he has an interesting background. We already had a little bit of pre-chat, and he's truly an amazing authority on a topic, on a book topic, on an icon from the NBA, one man that I admired, and I have learned very quickly how to admire Paul because his commitment to set up and explain maybe one of the most underappreciated athletes of our generation. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and why don't you hold up your book? We don't have to hold the mystery too long. And it's Moses Malone, The Life of a Basketball Prophet. Oh, strong word. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about where that subhead came from.
So, obviously part of it is a play on the biblical Moses.
Yes.
But it's much more than that. It's when Moses was 14 years old, he had just started playing basketball. He'd only been playing basketball for a few months, and he wrote down on a piece of paper, he wrote a note on a piece of paper saying he was going to be the best high school basketball player in the country by the end of his junior year. And he tucked it into there was a family Bible that was a family heirloom, and he tucked it into the Bible and left it there. And it was a preposterous prediction at the time because he'd only been playing a few months. He wasn't very good. He grew up in Petersburg, Virginia, which was not a basketball hotbed. There wasn't great competition there or great coaching. There was no reason in the world to believe that he would achieve that goal, but he did. And by the end of his junior year in high school, he was the best high school player in the country. And so he saw fit to write a new note and stick it in the Bible. And the second note said that he was going to be the first player to jump straight from high school to professional basketball, which again seemed highly unlikely. Nobody was talking about that happening at the time. Nobody saw that coming just a year later, but remarkably, it came to fruition. And then he had maybe his most famous in 1983 when the 76ers were going into the playoffs, and his coach Billy Cunningham asked him what he thought of the playoffs, and Moses' family said "faux, faux, faux," meaning that the 76ers were going to win. You had to win 3 series to win the championship, and you had to win 4 games in each series. And he was predicting that they were going to win. They were going to sweep all 3 series and win the championship, which had never been done before. And they didn't quite get there. They came close, though. They came 1 game short. They lost 1 game in the playoffs, and so that prediction came just short. But he had a few of these incredible, highly unlikely predictions that came true.
Hence the name Prophet.
Yeah.
And what was he like as an individual? I mean, I know you did your research to compile it, to insert it all in the book.
Yeah, I loved finding out about him as an individual because he was notoriously gruff with the media, standoffish. He never let anybody get to know him. I talked to a number of sports writers who covered him regularly, and they all said they didn't know him. He put up a wall that was there at all times, and so I liked, and because there wasn't much known about him, a lot of misconceptions that were formed about him, that he wasn't very intelligent, that he had no personality, things like that, because he didn't reveal those aspects of himself. But what I discovered was a man who, number one, was very intelligent, both on the court and off, had a great sense of humor, loved to play pranks on his teammates in the locker room, that kind of thing,
Okay.
and was a wonderful teammate, very supportive teammate and friend. He served as a mentor to countless players, most notably Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon, but many, many others. And so there was a lot to this somewhat mysterious man.
And why did you choose him to write about? because to put together a book, I know I help authors write and become bestsellers. That's my business and as a book publicist. And there's so much work to do this and to write a biography, not authorized because he's not alive anymore. But to write a biography is an immense amount of work. It's so much easier to pop out a nonfiction book, but to write something like this is a passion project, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. It took over 2 years, and I interviewed 250 something, subjects about Moses, and it was definitely a lot of work and a lot very time consuming. For me, I think the impetus behind it was, something you said early on was one of the most underappreciated athletes in any sport. He had this remarkable career, one of the all-time great players. He's on a short list. There's only 9 players in NBA history to win 3 or more MVP awards. He's on that list. The accolades go on, and yet nobody talks about him anymore. Nobody mentions him among the greats. And I felt between his incredible career and the fact that he was a trailblazer, the first guy to go straight from high school to the pros, there was a lot to his story, and I wanted to bring it to light, particularly for younger generations who didn't get to see him play and have no idea how great he was.
Did you get to reach out to Charles Barkley or Akeem Olajuwon to get their input?
So yes, I wasn't able to get in touch with Charles. I did speak to Akeem. Had a great conversation with him, which was extremely helpful. He was a great interview. The nice thing about Barkley is Barkley likes to talk, and so he's spoken on the record many times about his relationship with Moses. He's repeatedly said Moses is the one person most responsible for his success in the NBA because he taught
I
him how to
heard
work
that.
hard.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And well, you have other ways. Moses actually delivered a eulogy. I'm sorry, Charles delivered a eulogy at Moses' funeral, and one of Moses' closest friends sent me a DVD of the funeral, and so uh, I got a tremendous insight from that from watching Charles' eulogy. The tricky part about that was finding a place to play my DVD because nobody has DVD players anymore.
Right. You've got to go. Yeah, I think you have to buy one and hope and maybe even use to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's a
ended up going to, I asked a bunch of friends and neighbors. Nobody had it. I ended up I live in Austin, Texas. I went to the Austin Public Library, had DVDs for use. So thank God
Jeez.
for the public library.
I was
Yeah.
going to recommend a museum as a backup.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a fax machine? Oh my gosh. And telex? Oh,
Right.
that's funny. Yeah, not even that. Well, Paul, as I mentioned, I saw the 67 Lakers play with some great icons. That was my first basketball game. I just gave away my age. It's not young, but the way that we communicated back then, phones that went into the wall with a long cord and we dialed, and then push buttons came around. I thought that was the greatest thing, but in
Right.
terms of innovation, it's great. And we use cassettes, and then it went to eight tracks, or eight
Right.
tracks then turned to cassettes, and then it came to CDs and then DVDs. It's and now we're in a digital world. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why did you choose Moses Malone? I mean, here you've got this deep background as a sports analyst, a sports writer. Tell us a little bit about Paul. What motivated you? Were you a basketball player yourself?
I played at high school.
Mhm.
I played for my high school team and never played beyond that, except for, just fun pickup games with friends and
Sure.
stuff like that. But yeah, but I've always loved the game since a young age. I grew up in New York, so I love the Knicks and college basketball was huge in New York. St. John's was a big program at the time, but Big East basketball was king in the 80s and the early 90s when I was growing up uh, and so I would go to the Madison Square Garden sometimes to watch the Knicks play
Oh,
or
cool.
St. John's or the Big East tournament. And so yeah, basketball since I was 7, 8 years old, I've loved the game.
It was just ingrained in you. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you mentioned you played in high school. I played high school volleyball and I was pretty good. And then I went
Okay.
to first before I graduated from USC, University of Southern California, but I went to a junior college first so I could play volleyball It was Santa Monica City College, and it was a whole different level than high school. Oh my gosh! All I did was get splinters on my butt. I wasn't even close to being good enough to be
Yeah.
starting, much less. I think they threw me in when the game was away, just there as a back row person. But did you try out in college, or was that just too
I
much of a
didn't even
big?
try. I went to University of Michigan, which is a big time program,
Right.
big time Division I program, and I was a 6 foot white boy who couldn't jump that high, and it just
Same here. I'm a 6 foot white boy, and that I was short for volleyball. Even
yeah,
that.
high school was my that was it. I wasn't going any
You,
further.
you reached your ceiling and enjoy.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so I
No,
start so I started writing, right?
no, I
So
can relate. You got to pivot or get into misery. Yeah, just can't
yeah,
change
yeah.
that reality. I think we could get in trouble saying, "Oh, we're a white boy," but it's hey, it's a positive. It's a
Yeah,
positive
well, they say
judgment, isn't it?
white men can't jump, right? That's
Well, I could jump, but I just didn't have the talent. And the height, it does matter. Unless you're
yeah.
somebody like a Muggsy Malone, or what was his,
Muggsy Bogues.
Muggsy Bogues. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what was
Yeah.
the other one? There was another one that was short that was incredible.
Spud Webb.
Spud Webb. Yes. I
Yeah.
used to enjoy.
I talked to Muggsy for my book. Muggsy and Moses were good friends.
Oh,
They
how
they
about
pl-
that? Mutt and
they
Jeff, huh?
played together. Here's a great image for you. I don't. So you mentioned Muggsy. Do you remember Manute Bol?
Yes, of course. He was even
Seven
taller.
foot seven. He was
Yeah.
7'7", and Muggsy was 5'3". And Muggsy, Manute, and Moses were all teammates with the Washington Bullets, and the three of them used to go out to dinner together and go to the clubs together, and they were like a threesome. And I crack up every time I think of the imagery of 5'3", Muggsy and 6'10" Moses and 7'7" Manute, walking into the club together. Had to be quite a
Short,
sight.
tall, taller. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
Gigantic. And is Minute still alive?
No, Manute passed
That's
away.
what I thought. Okay. So what
Yeah,
did
I don't know.
Muggsy have to say about Moses?
Muggsy loved Moses. Muggsy, he was one of those people. Moses had was just kind of a natural mentor. He really liked to look out for the young guys, and so Muggsy was a rookie when he was teammates with Moses, and he wasn't playing much his rookie year, and Moses kind of kept his head up, and I think in some ways kind of taught him how to be a professional, how to take care of his body, and how to take care of his money, and how to keep working hard and keep his head up when things weren't going his way. And so Muggsy was very grateful because he was kind of like, here's Moses Malone, this three-time MVP award winner, this perennial all-star, and what does he care about little old me, this rookie on the team? But he did. He took an interest in him and looked out for him.
What was unique about? I mean, give me some numbers. It was the multiple MVPs, which are incredible. I mean, he oftentimes gets confused with Carl Malone, but they're not related, are they?
No, they're not. No.
Yeah, and
The
I
cra
used.
the craziest number is so when you take Moses started his career in the ABA, and when you take
Oh, sure.
ABA and NBA numbers, you combine them, he's the greatest offensive rebounder of all time by such to show you how by what an enormous margin. So Moses had like around 7,300 offensive rebounds for his career. Number two is Artis Gilmore with about 4,800. The difference between Moses at number one and Artis Gilmore at number two is about the same as the difference between Artis Gilmore at number two and the 79th all-time offensive rebounder. That's how far Moses is ahead of the field, ahead of everyone else in offensive rebounds, which is just staggering.
There's nobody even close. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
So you say so he's up here, and then the rest start with Artis Gilmore, and then they're all part of a cluster. It sounds like.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, I thought it would have been Dennis Rodman, but not even.
Yeah, Rodman's up there. He's up there on the list, but he's not anywhere near that territory.
And why do you think he was dissed? Did he get inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he did. He did. Um, it's interesting. It's I put a lot of thought into that. Why isn't he talked about more? And I think there are a few reasons. I think one is that there was no flash to Moses' game. He didn't soar through the air like a Michael Jordan, or he wasn't a wizard with the ball like Magic Johnson. Um, His greatest skill was offensive rebounding. His greatest attribute was his relentless work ethic. And I don't think that translated to highlight reels the way that some of the other star players of his time did.
Okay.
And I think, he moved around a lot. He played at a time when most superstars spent their whole career with one or two teams. He ended up playing for many teams across two leagues over his 21-year career. And so I think place is important for legacy. I think you need a home where a team where that people associate you with, or and a fan base that celebrates you and loves you. And Moses Number is retired in Houston and Philadelphia, so he is respected. He's best known for his years in Philly because he won a championship there, but he was only there for 4 years. So he's not as associated with the city or loved there the way that, say, Dr. J or Allen Iverson are, both of whom spent a decade in Philly.
Right.
I think he wasn't in any one place long enough. And I think the last reason he's not talked about it as much is because Moses didn't give a damn about being talked about. He had no interest in being famous. He thought it was nonsense. He's probably right. Um, but as I mentioned, he was gruff with the media, and this is at a time before the internet, before social media. It was very much the sports writers created the mythology around our athletes. And as I mentioned, I talked to a lot of the guys who covered him regularly, and none of them got to know him. Some of them flat out disliked him because they found him rude. And so I think that affected the way he was portrayed then and the way he's remembered and portrayed now. I think because of all that too, because he was gruff, because there was no flash to him, he had a bit of a speech impediment. He didn't get the kind of endorsement deals that
There you go.
typically come with a player of his accomplishments.
It's all marketing, isn't it? There was no sizzle
Yeah.
on his steak.
And right, exactly. And endorsements, they present you, they put you in people's living rooms in a different light, right? And they kind of
Right.
embed you in the culture on a deeper level. And he never got that kind of access. And so I think for all those reasons, he's just kind of been forgotten a little bit.
He wasn't literate. Well, and if there was no flash to his game, like you mentioned, this is a marketing lesson in life. This is a business lesson also because he was the brand. He was his
Right.
own personal brand, and he didn't do anything distinct. I mean, the numbers obviously are incredibly impressive, and he's a Hall of Famer. Yet, you are so correct, and I'm a basketball fan, not to the degree that you are. You're really immersed in it, but I'm a fan. And the first thing when you mention Malone, you default to Karl Malone in my mind. And he was a little, I
Hmm.
think he came after Moses, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Karl Malone wasn't necessarily very friendly either. So it was just that
Right,
neither of them was media friendly. Magic Johnson had that gigantic grill smile. Uh,
right,
Larry Bird was considered rude, but he got a lot of media attention. And, there are other reasons he was marketable. But I think there's
right.
something to be said about a person has got all the great skills, but if you don't wrap your package well, you're going to be a forgotten package.
Yeah, and there have been other guys like that. I mean, I think Tim Duncan was like that. Tim Duncan he won, what do you win,
So
five
exactly.
championships, but
Yeah.
he's not,
Personable.
and as time passes, you're going to hear about him less and less because he didn't get those kind of commercials, endorsement deals either. He just had no interest in it. He had no interest in the fame, Tim Duncan or Moses Malone. And I mean, I think they left a lot of money on the table because of that, but I think they would both probably tell you that they're okay with that.
Well, they made money and but to compare
Yes,
it
yes,
to a
yeah,
personality like Shaq, who's endorsing every product and pocketing his millions, it's a
right,
he's a brand icon
right.
and beloved around the world. So, what about Moses' personal life? Did he tell us about that?
Yeah, so Moses, he got married when he was pretty young in his early 20s. He had two children, and he ended up getting divorced. He was married for about 10 years. Moses, as I say in the book, Moses' weakness was women. He didn't
Oh,
drink. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke cigarettes. He didn't do any drugs. None of that. But he loved women. And on the road, at home, whatever it was, he was constantly getting after women, and that led to his divorce. And then later in life, he had a child with a woman he was in a relationship with. He didn't marry her, but they were together for many years, and and that youngest son was just 6 years old when Moses passed. But yeah, I think he struggled a little with that, and that he just couldn't uh, keep it in his pants, for lack
So
of
to
a better.
speak. Yeah. Well, you're a
Yeah.
sports icon, 6'10", handsome man, fit,
Lots of money.
lots of
Yeah.
money. That's a magnet for women. And
It's hard. It's a magnet, and there's also such opportunity because you're on the road all the time, right? And you're on the road and you come back at night and there are beautiful women hanging out in the hotel lobby just there for the taking. And and your wife's not there, and maybe you miss your wife and you're lonely or because you're on the road for a couple weeks or whatever it is. And so yes, there's plenty of opportunity.
and he did what he did. And he
He did what he did.
and there were consequences. Did he die?
Yeah.
Did he die with any money, or did he die broke?
No, he had a lot of money. He
Okay.
was there are tons of stories about him being cheap.
Okay.
Um and but no, he invested well. He took very good care of his money. I think he had good people. It's hard because he grew up
Okay.
extremely poor, and then went straight from high school to the pros, and so he went from having nothing to having a lot very quickly. And a lot of people can't handle that. A lot of people.
No, they don't. They implode.
Yeah, they don't know they have no idea how to invest money because they've never had money before. And even I grew up middle class. If I had become rich overnight, my father's a CPA. He's savvy enough and had knew enough people that we would have invested wisely. But someone like Moses didn't have those kind of people around him. His family, his all of his family, his extended family is all very poor. They didn't have any kind of business background. But I think he was fortunate in that I think he was maybe mature beyond his years and wise enough to be stingy with his money. And he was fortunate to find a couple agents at a very young age who really looked out for him and steered him in the right direction. And he was wise enough to trust them and listen to them. And yeah, so he had a really nice nest egg when he retired, and had a good amount when he died.
Okay, so that he was able to take care of his family, because you hear those
Yeah.
stories of these athletes that make millions, and then you read about them in bankruptcy court.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of them, it's hard. And I've talked to guys like that who, they come up with, particularly guys who come up with nothing and then they make it. And it's like, they look back and, well, their parent, not just their parents, but their siblings, their cousins, their best friends growing up are still living in the projects. And you want to help them, but all of a sudden you have 25 family members and friends on the payroll, who you're paying rent for all these people, and it can disappear fast.
Sure.
Sometimes with very, yes, there are guys who go out and will just spend way above their means on ridiculous luxury items. That happens, and sometimes it's actually very well intentioned, and they're just not savvy enough to know, oh, I can't take care of all these people. It's going to catch up to me, and they lose it. But yeah, you hear people who make, because the money's gotten so much greater. Moses retired in 95. Guys who, played in the 90s or 2000s or 2010s who made a lot more money than he did just because the money got so much higher, who have gone bankrupt. A lot of them. Guys who made 70, 80 million dollars in their careers who were broke.
Yeah, that's that. Well, he sounds like he was very smart. He might not have been educated the way that other people are or were that entered after college. Like Magic Johnson invested wisely, and Shaq and some of these others. He had street smarts, and he also
Yeah.
saw and was probably mentored by some NBA greats before him who were responsible financially. Who were his mentors?
Yeah, guys, when he first came in the league, it was guys like not huge names, guys like Ron Boone, Gerald Govan, Wally Jones, just guys who veterans, guys who were in their 30s then, who'd been around for a long time, and they pulled them aside. It was simple things, like, hey, this is how you tip in a restaurant,
Mm,
because he never ate in a restaurant before. This is how you dress in a league. This is where you get your clothes. This is watch out for these women who are going to be hanging around the hotel lobby,
That want to get
and
pregnant and get a
yeah,
come for life.
yeah, and just how this is how you take care of your body. This is how you save your money. You can't go out till 3 in the morning the night before a game. You need guys around like that around, and it doesn't have to be a superstar. It could just be just a veteran on the team who's well respected and has just been around for a long time.
You have a podcast yourself, Paul. Tell us about that.
Yep. Yeah, it's called New Books in Sports. It's part of the New Books Network. They have channels for all, new books in philosophy, new books in psychology, new books in fiction, all across the board. And I really enjoy it because I'm a writer. I write books, so I love talking to other sports writers about their books, and I enjoy giving them a platform to promote their work. And I've met a lot of, good writers by doing it, and it's great. I love reading. I love reading sports books, so it's fun to talk to the authors and sometimes just to commiserate about the business a little bit and what we've been through or our experiences writing the books, and so I enjoy that very much.
Me too. I can relate to it. It's not an easy field to make money, especially, passion to profits. Sometimes there's a big gap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, when are you getting a day job? I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah. How long have you been a podcaster?
Oh man, maybe 6, 7 years now.
Okay. Any tips to share with people that may be thinking about podcasting or jumping in? Because when I mentioned passion to profits, you smiled and your head moved. And is there a way to do that and make money? I mean, maybe your dad
Uh,
was talking in the back of your head being the CPA. You got a profit, you
yeah.
got a double underline.
My dad's talking in the back of my head a lot, a lot.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I suppose there is. I don't make any money off the podcast.
Okay. So it is a
So
passion
I can't.
project.
It's totally a passion project.
Uh,
Yeah, I just enjoy doing it. If you can make money off a podcast, God bless you.
well, has it led to great connections? Has it opened doors that normally wouldn't be open? I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
I think
form of
so.
journalism, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then even when my book came out, as I reached out to people I've had on the podcast, and some of those people helped promote it. A couple of them wrote blurbs for the back of the book. One guy's doing an article for the newspaper he writes. A writer that I had on my podcast. So it's definitely been beneficial. Just networking from a networking standpoint.
And I'm curious about Charles Barkley. Was he impossible to get a hold of or did he decline? What was the deal?
I never got an official decline. I just couldn't get to them. These. It's almost like the bigger the name, the more people you have to go through to get to
The
them.
gatekeepers,
Um,
but he couldn't
yeah,
get to his mentor.
and
I I meant
yeah, I just couldn't get to him. I tried through TNT, where he worked until very recently, and
right.
couldn't get through there. And the teams he played for, to reach out to his agent, I just couldn't. I don't know. I think someone like him, I think he probably gets so many interview requests that it's just, I don't know if he
Overwhelming.
does. I don't know if he does any really, or he's very selective about the ones he does. But I don't know that. I have no idea what the screening process is. Like, I have no idea. Because from my standpoint, I'm like, yeah, he loved Moses. Loved
Right.
he
That's what I was
called
saying.
he
That
called
would be an easy one.
right. He called Moses dad. He literally called him dad.
Are you the only one that
Until the
wrote a
day Moses.
biography on him?
I'm sorry.
Are you the only one that wrote a biography on Moses?
Yeah, yeah. I'm the only one.
Wow.
It's never been written before, and so yeah. So I'm just like, get this in front. Just let him know. I don't know that he ever. I think there's a good chance he never was informed by by the gatekeepers that I was writing this book. So,
That's
but
my bet, Paul.
yeah. Like I said, he was a mentor to Akeem, and Akeem came on the phone and he said, I'll never forget. I said, Akeem, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about Moses, and he said, no, thank you. It's an honor. It is my honor to talk to you about Moses. And I was just like, whoa. Okay.
Well, what about Akeem? I'm trying to help because there hasn't been anybody that I haven't been able to get a hold of when I found the right person to open the door.
Yeah.
What about Moses
Yeah.
or Hakeem opening the door?
That's possible. I hadn't even thought to go down that path, but
Well,
maybe.
that's good that we're having a chalk because you learn things here
Yeah.
and there, but that would be there's the legitimizer right
Yeah.
there of Hakeem. He would take Hakeem's call. I would reach out
Yeah.
to
I'm sure it
Hakeem and
would.
say, "Hey, man, I want to get a hold of Charles. He's integral to popularize the book for your mentor and all this. Can you make the intro for me?"
That's a good idea.
He'll do it. I've never found a
Yeah.
door that I couldn't open. I just had to find the right one with the right key.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
And I think he's a potential good key with a nice fit for you, Paul.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's my gosh, I'm trying to help you blow up your book. And
I
if he gets
appreciate it.
yeah, and if he gets behind it, man, New York Times, maybe not. That's a different play, and that's that's a whole different algorithm, as you
Right.
probably know. I mean, I work as a book publicist, as I mentioned, so I know the game. But in terms of sales and recognition for your hard work, knock on the right doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Agents, unless there's money in it, what's their incentive? But you're finding
Right.
the passion here with Hakeem, and he'll do it out of emotion.
Right.
There isn't a dollar dangling. And
Right.
I think agents screw up probably more deals than they make opportunities for. I know this because I was married to a lawyer, and she screwed up every deal she got involved in with me. It was like everybody got pissed off, and there ended up being no deal.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, Paul, hey, you've been a great guest. Show us your book again.
Yeah. Here we go. Moses Malone, The Life of a Basketball Prophet.
And where can they procure it?
Most bookstores.
Okay. Oh, so it
and,
is in bookstores. Oh,
It
good.
is at bookstores, yeah. And then, Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and all that stuff.
Did you go through a publisher?
Yes, it's
Okay.
University of Nebraska Press, they're called. Yeah.
University of Nebraska Press. I'd never heard of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah, they do a
to
lot
get
of
into
sports
bookstores.
books.
It's not easy to
Yeah.
get into bookstores. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just independent publishers have a little bit of a challenge there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you went through a publisher. Oh, that was smart.
Yeah.
Well, hey, bud, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you the best of luck. And I want to hear about how you got a hold of Charles Barkley. And
I will. If I get him, I promise you, I will get back to you and let you know.
All right, Paul. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me on, Mitch. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to MitchCarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.